you've hired really smart people, you've got a good product, you know that, you're making inroads, but everybody is tearing their hair out consistently. It's the process that's broken.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. What if the difference between struggling and scaling isn't working harder, but implementing smarter systems? Today, we're exploring the hidden power of simplified systems with Andy Worobel and Rich Nazzaro, founders of SaaS Business Advisors, a consultancy that's revolutionizing how established businesses scale. With 28 years of combined experience at tech giants like Dell, Salesforce, Oracle, and HP, this dynamic duo observed firsthand how business owners struggle with refined processes and streamlined technology, costing them time, money, and growth potential. Together, they specialize in creating simple solutions to complex problems that help their clients simplify, streamline, and scale. Rich and Andy are also BrandFace clients, so you'll also hear about their personal branding journey with us.
Rich and Andy, welcome to Be Bold Branding.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Let's start off at the beginning here, learning a little bit about each of you. So would each of you share just a little bit of your background and like what led you to be doing what you're doing today?
I always say this. I wish I knew what I wanted to do when I grow up, because I just feel like I've fallen into my career. I started my career in banking back in Boston, where I grew up. And my career is always focused around technology, but never a quote unquote technologist, meaning coding on a system. And so I've kind of woven my career through, I would say, two themes. One is process and improving how businesses work. I did a lot of that with banking in the 90s. There was a lot of banking consolidation. So we were buying other banks. We had to figure out ways to make things more efficient. Fast forward into the 2000s, and I got into technology through working at Accenture and started doing massive implementations of software. And at that time, it was software as a service, Salesforce. So I was on the implementation side of that. And once again, found myself, hey, this isn't about implementing technology. It's about making your business more efficient. It's about driving results and driving growth. And so over the past, I would say 15, 17 years, I've been in that space, really focusing, whether it's been with customers implementing it or whether it's been working with Salesforce, helping customers adopt the software and use the software more efficiently. I've always kind of just, find myself on that end of the technology spectrum.
Very good.
Andy.
Yeah. Andy. So Andy, I came in through a little bit different route. My background is in marketing. And so, I've always done the marketing side of things, working hand in hand with the sales team. And really, in some way, it's just a matter of kind of how old we are, that technology suddenly really started enabling that, that front end marketing and sales strategy. And so, I was the lucky beneficiary when marketing automation and CRM really started coming to the forefront. I was with the company and we took a huge leap of faith and said, hey, I think we can totally transform the way that that our processes work. And by really getting that clarity into how the business actually brought leads in the door and closed them between marketing and sales, it was just one of those aha moments where everybody saw, this is what we're doing. And we see the direct results of our efforts, whether on the marketing side of the house, inside sales, closing the deal. And so that was really foundational for, this is amazing and this is cool. And now we all know exactly what we're doing to support the business. And so from there, really, I started working with more companies just to replicate that. Because again, like Rich said, it wasn't about the technology per se. It was about how are you using the technology and how are you really using that to, simplify and get clarity. And what is it that each person, whether it's a big team or whether it's a small team, what's their role? Getting clarity into what they're doing and then being able to really simplify that to see, how we're affecting all the way through, and then all the way through to the retention and renewal game. So that was foundational, and that's really been just an ongoing theme, is how do we make that really simple? How does everybody see what they're trying to do, and then turn that into a repeatable function?
You're hired.
Sweet.
Oh my God. Like we will not have enough time to unwind all of this. But you are speaking straight up my alley here about this, both of you. First off with Rich, like, how do you get the buy-in for the new technology, right? And to actually implement, like the bosses always implement it. I literally was just dealing with this earlier today. The people that the bosses say, please implement this as part of your paycheck, they don't seem to care, right? They just want the paycheck, whether they implement or not. And then, Andy, on your side, the clarification between the leads, what we're doing with the leads, how we got the leads, what the language of those leads, and then how we follow that process into tying together that this lead this way leads to this dollar amount is an age-old question that anybody from a one-person shop to 1,000-person business has to figure out, or they're just spinning wheels.
So let's start with that first question Michael asked. How do you get the buy-in of people to use the new technology?
So it's hard. I mean, so those decisions, to your point, are made way above everybody's grade level. Executives decide this is the digital transformation, or this is the direction the company's going. We have endless vendor meetings of different vendors, and they select a vendor. So that's almost the easy part. And then the really hard part comes into is you're either replacing existing technology, or you're putting technology where technology didn't exist, which means there were people doing manual tasks, and there were people doing things. And I'm sure you've all heard this. Well, this is how we've always done it. Literally the most grating statement in the face of this earth when it comes to being a consultant in technology. But it really is, change management is the biggest work stream beyond like putting in the technology. And the reason being for that is you have to get the buy-in. And so the best way to get the buy-in is, one is bottoms up, getting people to believe what you're doing actually impacts their job and makes their lives easier. Two, you have to get the executives and kind of the middle level management who have made these decisions to push the right messaging down, right? To explain to people why it's good, why it will be helpful, and why this is good for the business. I think often people who do a job day after day don't really think about the macroeconomics of the business because they're busy doing stuff. Yeah. And so they have to kind of understand is the more efficient you are through using this technology, the better the business is, more money we make, the more we can pay you. You kind of have to unravel that chain for them sometimes. But within each of those change groups, we call them change champions. We usually try to find what we call super users throughout the company and have them be the people within those departments who champion their coworkers, right? Yes. So it's not the people up here saying it's, hey, Bob, did you see this thing? Hey, Sarah, did you see this? It's awesome. Like, this is going to make our lives so much better. So it's really about grassroots efforts as well.
Like what you're hearing? Hit that subscribe button and learn how you can change how you're seen and charge what you're worth.
I like it.
I do too. And Andy, to the question, I spent 18 years in the radio world, and there was no bigger division between programming and sales, right?
100%.
trying to get both sides to understand the value of the other, right? Programming would say, well, we're the ones creating this product, so you guys can go sell it. And salespeople would say, you guys wouldn't have a job if we didn't go sell it, right?
That's 100%
and so
right.
The truth was in the middle. But how do you get those two sides to really come together to see the fullness of the purpose of this?
We're big believers in transparency of information. So, when you can really see just see the numbers on how one affects the other, and then everybody gets rewarded on the whole, rather than, individual, compensation is its own thing, but to be able to really understand, okay, how is this impacting the business, and how does one have the other? The other thing, It's really, really simple, but honestly, you know, marketing programming, they don't always carry the bag. So sometimes they need to carry a bag and have a quota, and so that everybody understands, like, we're all building the business, we're all on the same team. But really, that transparency, I think, is one of the most important things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing first, people need to understand they need some help from somebody like you, right?
Mhm.
And so what are the things that are happening internally that would be those warning signs of that tech overwhelm? Sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. We just think we're destined to be in this mess our whole lives, right?
Mhm.
And then once we realize there's somebody like you out there that has this experience that can make everything change, what are those warning signs that people should be looking at and saying, okay, I could use their help?
It's a good question. We've got clients who come in and they are in high growth mode, and they are saying, like, we are doubling our revenue, year over year. We're in great shape, and they've got good dedicated teams, and they feel like, but I don't know where it's coming from, and I don't know how we're going to manage it. So, we've got clients that have really spectacular, very, very detailed systems and checklists on how the job is done, but they don't have that visibility for what's happening at the top level. And then, that really just leads to that feeling of a bit of out of control. And, what we find is they're like, I know that I need tech, and I've got these systems, and I've bought tech because it's going to do X, Y, or Z. But what they haven't really done is made the tech fit their processes.
Mhm.
And so it's that marriage of, how does my business run and how does the tech fit me, rather than putting some cookie cutter, it's going to solve this little teeny problem, but maybe it's not connected to the entire system. So that's where it's not necessarily changing the tech, but it's just simplifying and customizing it to the specific business need.
And the important thing you called out is data. People always forget the metrics, the measurements. It's not sexy. It's not pretty. It's not what anybody really wants to spend their days doing. But everything in your business is connected. To Andy's point, it's like you get a lead, the lead becomes hopefully a sale, that sale hopefully becomes a customer, that customer you have to service through the life of its contract, and then you want to renew it. All those data points along the way tell you the story of your company.
Yes.
And the more information you can use through that data to tell the story, as Andy was calling out earlier, is you're going to be more efficient, right? And when you have blind spots, whether it's because, hey, you have a technology that does that, and then you have a person that does that, and this is over in a spreadsheet here, you have fragments of your company. And kind of our goal is to, how do you bring that together in a very organic way, to Andy's point, that supports your goals on your business, not, hey, this software works great for this. Okay, but
Right.
it might not be the right software for you.
Makes total sense. And that's got to be speaking to so many people in business today, because I can tell you, is there a target? Like, do you find, either one of you in your experience, like there's an age of a business where this really becomes like super important? There's the statistic that most companies don't go out of business in the first 5 years. They go out of business between years 5 and 7 or 5 and 8,
Right.
because they don't realize in their growth that they didn't keep up with all their matrix. They don't really have a clear profit and loss, and they don't realize the cancers, even from personnel, that are eaten from the inside out. Do y'all find that there's a certain age of a company that's really a danger point?
Not really. I mean, if you have a really great product, you can survive for years, to your point. And the inefficiency, the difference is going to be, are you making a profit, right? So you may be able to be in business, would not be profitable.
Yeah, right.
So,
that's so true. Yeah.
Right.
Right. So I think that the real kind of issue we see is where does it become overwhelming? Where does it become, it's really impacting either me personally, if you own the business, or it's impacting my staff so much that I'm having tons of turnover, right? Because people aren't staying, because, listen, you're asking me to do too many things, and I can't be successful. Right.
Right.
So I think for us, we work with companies that are $1 billion. We've worked for companies that were multi-billion dollars. I mean, Salesforce, Dell, these were $60-70 billion companies. And you see the same symptoms there that we saw in a customer that was $3 million a year. right? It was just, where's the pivot point that it becomes so painful? You're like, if I don't do something, it's maybe my company won't survive, but I won't survive my
But I
company.
personally
Right,
won't survive.
exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And all of these smart people, I mean, that's, common threads. It's when you start to see the overwhelm and, people who are pulling at their, you've hired really smart people. You've got a good product. You know that, you're making inroads, but everybody is tearing their hair out consistently. It's the process that's broken.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great takeaway.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I could go on and on with this
Oh, I could
conversation.
too, forever.
I know Michael could. You see Michael typing over
I get
there.
excited about stuff like this.
He does. If you can see
Because
this,
this kind of stuff leads to growth. I want to say
It
that
does.
to the
Right.
listener.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
and Michael types away a lot because he's taking notes over here, and he's taking notes about our takeaways, which we'll come back to at the end of this episode. All right.
Cool.
So I want to dig into your BrandFace journey because you guys are clients and we're so proud. And tell us, first of all, why did you come into the program?
So when we started this company, one of the things I always wanted to do is podcast. We are actually on that journey right now. And so I believe on LinkedIn, I saw something about podcasting from you, Tanya, and I was like, oh, let me join an event. And at the end of the event, you had talked about BrandFace and what you're doing. And I think, we don't have a brand. We don't have an identity. And we talk about it. And we knew the importance of it because we've worked for large brands and, we understood, hey, we have to have a color theme and we have to have messaging. And so all the things to be true about companies that you love and recognize, Apple, like think of all the lists of companies. We said, oh, we got to do that. When it generated a janky logo, we went and tried to put taglines together. It just never was cohesive. And so when you had talked at the end of that event, I was like, oh, this is what we need. Like, we need somebody to come and help us sort through this.
And we're really bad
and
about
that's what
talking
really
about
got here.
ourselves. So that was the other thing
Well,
too, was,
1000%.
we keep looking at it. We're like, this is so uncomfortable. So it was
Yeah.
really helpful to get through that and have somebody say like, no, you guys can do this. Like there's a reason that you've got, smart brains, you've been successful. You just need to put it together better. So that was really, really helpful.
You guys are a perfect 1-2 punch for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We knew right away there was a lot to work with.
What were you concerned about, if anything at all, in coming into the program?
I mean, I think for us, I think this is true of anything. You see so many ads out there like, hey, we're going to help you go from 0 to 7 million. We're going to help you do this and this and this kind of, shaman, fly by the night, people who are just offering something. And so our concern was, are we going to pay and not get what we need? Are we going to end this journey with something we're like, you did the job, but it's not, we weren't excited about the outcome. So I'd say that was our biggest concern going into it.
Yeah, that's
Andy,
pretty common.
You want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's exactly right. And we see it in our industry too. Like,
Sure.
these huge promises and you're like, common sense says maybe.
Yes.
Probably not. Right?
I just really feel like we talk about this all the time. And in fact, talked about it last week very in detail, because I think that's what everybody feels like about any kind of product that is sold now online. And it's for rightful reasons. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's definitely true. What do you think was the most eye-opening thing for you guys throughout the journey?
I think, to Andy's point, continuing to talk about ourselves and get comfortable. There's a little bit of an imposter syndrome going on here. We know we've done the business and we've worked for very large companies and we've been successful, but it's something about putting yourself out there and you as an individual saying, oh, I'm a company and I'm going to offer this service. You kind of have that, oh shit moment, sorry for the French, that I don't have the big logo behind me to prove that I can do the work. And I say this all the time. When I worked for Accenture, you would have hired me because Accenture has a certain brand, right? And people pay for that brand. Even though I no longer have that title, I have that history with that company and all these other companies. So it was leaning into our story and feeling confident about that story, I think, was one of the things, at least I personally took away from the journey with you all.
For sure. For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Andy, anything else?
No, just practice, 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 practice. I think that was the other thing is, you guys put together our story in such a way that we're like, oh, that sounds really good. That sounds really smart. But then we needed to make the words actually come out of our mouths to match that up.
Right.
And so that was, I think, just a really helpful to make us sound as smart as we think we might be. Yeah.
Oh goodness,
As clearly you are.
as clearly you
Yeah.
are, and it's hard to read the label when you're the one inside the jar. Right?
Amen.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
That's our history too, by the way. The way I met Tanya was I hired her for marketing, and she sold me marketing, but then she taught me branding, and it changed everything. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's critical.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. How would you say that your brand has helped you already?
I think it's just
Um,
helping us being
yeah.
really, really consistent with, who we are and what we do, and just getting that really nailed down. We've continued to iterate on what you guys have sent to us. Obviously, as we start to weave in client stories and as we start to, put out more information, it's just been really helpful to build on that solid base.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Good.
And be able to talk about it, being more confident when we do put stuff out there. It's consistent. It makes sense. It follows logic. Our website looks like our LinkedIn, looks like our TikTok,
Right.
the colors, the logo, like it all just looks more professional than what we would have probably done, because I would say it's like, the children of the cobbler shoes, like, you don't get shoes if you're the cobbler's child, right? Like everybody
Right.
else has really nice shoes, you don't. And so we would have been like, oh, we would have probably done a website, but we wouldn't have connected it to LinkedIn, and we wouldn't have connected it here, and we wouldn't have thought about all those different branding pieces that when people hit one thing and they go to the other, they're like, oh, okay, I get it, right?
There's consistency,
So, yeah,
and
yeah.
not just in the mind of your potential client, but also for SEO, right?
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
Google's trying to
Oh, yeah.
connect and contextually make
Absolutely.
sure you're that person, right? And it's not just where you show up, it's how you show up. So that's a really big
Right.
deal. But what I particularly remember about you guys and loved about this journey with you both is that, a lot of times we look at technology, and technology can feel very sterile, right? It can feel like, okay, well, that's just another technology company. And then we look at your individual human stories, and that really is what brought everything to the surface. And because our tagline is, people don't do business with a logo, they do business with a person. And
Right.
so I don't care how many billions, how many zeros and commas are in that business, you're still a human being that they're going to put confidence in and trust in to get the job done. And to me, that really opened up for the two of you. And it was just, I feel like it was very warm, but super professional and competent.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
really felt that.
Appreciate that.
So, well, last question is, what would you guys say to others who are considering becoming a brand face?
Trust it. I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing, is just trust. A good brand when you see it. Good personal brands when you see it. Trust the process, and be honest and forthright, and it does all come together.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I would say, like, when we did business with you guys, where we kind of talked before the podcast started, we pivoted in the middle of this journey.
Yeah.
And when Andy and I talked about the pivot, we fully expected for you guys to say, yeah, well, sorry,
We've already delivered.
You've already delivered what you contracted, and to your benefit, you said, no, you're not leaving here unless you get what you came here to get. And I'm not going to feel comfortable if we didn't deliver the right thing. And that for us meant everything as a smaller business starting out. And it really solidified for us what a great partner you guys were in this journey, because it wasn't about just delivering something. It was about delivering the right things for us. And that really helped us even go further in this journey with you guys. And I would recommend anybody who plans on going on this journey and hasn't, they should.
Well,
Oh,
thank you so much.
Oh, you almost made me cry. I love it.
Well, we
Thank
might have
you.
been crying when we called you a couple of times, and
Right.
you helped us put it all back together. So that was helpful.
Right.
Oh, you guys, we never want anybody leaving without exactly like the best possible brand they could possibly have. You want to do that. And life happens. It wasn't like we were completely finished and then a year later you guys came back and said, we're going to pivot.
Right.
Like
Right.
we were literally
And
in the
you redid.
middle. And
Exactly.
yeah, and it was our pleasure. So, we'll round it out here with some of our takeaways from today, and then a final question for you guys. So, Michael, take it away.
Well, I think the first one I got was the grassroots buy-in that Rich talked about. You got to have the grassroots buy-in in when you're implementing new systems that people can't see the results of.
Yeah.
I think that was my first.
Yeah, which leads into what Andy talked about with transparency. Big believers in transparency and making sure that all across the board, people know the whys, right? They see they see the system, they see the processes, but most importantly, they know why and what everybody's trying to get to.
Yep. And clarity on that is so important. And then call attention to the matrix, I think was the other one. Like, I think all of them have the same theme. The takeaways is the sharing of the information and showing them the bird's eye picture so they can take care of their portion of that and uphold their mantle of that. My words, not y'all's, but I think that's a big takeaway. So calling attention to those numbers and how important your specific numbers are to the whole is very important to your organization. So
Yeah,
we
it
hope
is.
that the audience pulls something from those 3 takeaways.
All right. Final question for you guys. How can our audience learn more about doing business with you guys, the perfect 1-2 punch?
They can go to the website, saasba.com.
SaaSBA.com. It's really important that it's not, we may be sassy, but it's SaaS, software as a service. It is about the technology in many ways, SaaSBA.com.
And your clients are going to know that, right? For the most part, right?
Yeah. If not, we'll educate you really fast.
There you go.
Yeah, I know you guys can. Well, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to get to know both of you personally and professionally. And I don't want this to end. So, hey, you have to stick around. So welcome to BrandFace. It's kind of like Hotel California. You can come in, but you can never leave.
That's exactly right.
It's a good place. It's a good place. We're comfortable with that.
Well, we appreciate you guys so much. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Ready to change how you're seen and charge what you're worth? If you're not getting enough opportunities to meet with ideal customers, or the prospects you're meeting with just aren't ideal, it's most likely your brand that's holding you back. So if you're a coach, consultant, or expert who is on the rise, you need our ultimate guide to a freedom-based brand. Download it free now at brandfaceguide.com.